a rigid mind is a dogmatic mind. Dogmatic, and where sometimes this term is kept for really dogmatic people, like, I don't know, dogmatic politicians, dogmatic ideologists, but actually we are all, most of the time, quite dogmatic. What does it mean, a dogmatic mind? It means a mind that holds on to perspectives, holds on to positions and to identities, holds on to a degree that it perceives the entirety of reality through them. It perceives reality through perspectives, through positions, through identities. So the problem begins with perspective. Now, before you become alarmed, I'm not saying that holding or having a perspective is absolute evil or a terrible mistake. We are going to discuss this, don't worry. But the problem begins when we forget that perspective is something that we use and that we have chosen to adopt, to embrace. And that is all what perspective should be. Something that I use, something that I've chosen to embrace. I've chosen to embrace. And what does that mean? This means that between my mind and my perspectives, there is a certain gap. Now, in this gap, I have the freedom to choose to become identified with the perspective. Now, for the most part, we tend to forget this gap, and as a result, we never get to know our mind in its free and flexible state, or as we may also call it, in its fluid state. Just feel the term, a fluid mind, fluid. So what is a perspective? A perspective is simply a lens that I put between my mind's eye and reality, right? And using this lens, I see reality. Now, we all see reality through lenses. For instance, we have the religious lens. And then you have the Hindu lens. But even that lens was split into many different lenses, yoga, Advaita, and so on. Then you have the Buddhist lens, but even that is divided into Theravada, Mahayana, Tantra. Then you have the Christian lens, Catholic, Protestant, and so on and so on. Then you have the Jewish lens, and this is Hasidic and Kabbalistic and all that. And you have, of course, the atheistic lens. So, and this is just a tiny bit of all the possible religious lenses and non-religious lenses. Then I have the lens of nationality, right? Viewing the world through my nationality. The lens of my political view. The lens of my gender and my sexual orientation. The spiritual lens, I don't know, viewing the world from the soul's journey, from the reincarnation. And we even have the lens of the chakra personality types, right? This is another way to perceive the world, and so on and so on. Now, when we understand that we all perceive reality through lenses, there can be only one implication, and that is that none of us see the reality as it is, or reality in actuality, and we all only see a certain worldview that is the reflection of his or her perspective, you see? So all that I see is a reflection of my own perspective. And this worldview, always by its very nature, divides reality into me, and sometimes we, I, we, and they. So lenses divide the world into men and women, homosexuals and heterosexuals, left-winged, right-winged, Russians, Ukrainians, Hindus, Buddhists, religious, secular. Now these lenses, they become glued to the free and pure eyes of our mind to such a degree that eventually not only the mind becomes rigid, but it also turns the perspective or the position into an identity. You see? So first I have a perspective, a certain lens through which I choose to view the world, and then I turn this perspective into an identity. This means it's an inseparable part of the definition and experience of myself. So perspective creates identity. Now I'm a Christian, now I'm a homosexual, now I'm an atheist, now I'm Russian. The rigid mind is thick because it is so stuffed with perspectives, worldviews, positions, and identities. And sadly, this is how our world is, to a large extent, right? Because everyone is walking around with masks that have become so glued to their faces that they are practically irremovable. We even forget that we have put masks on our faces. And as a result, it is almost impossible to encounter even one flexible mind in this world.